Hello, Richard. Apologies for the delay. We were just finishing the AMA and and got a couple of questions. So if we can
Eh,
just wait, Richard, for 2 more minutes so people can join, I will pin your head here and let's wait a couple minutes, Richard, just for people to. It was my fault. It was my fault. Apologies, everyone here.
for sure. Yeah, let's get everyone on board first.
Thank you, Richard. All right, I think we can start already. So prepare your questions for Richard here. You can do it either in the chat or ask them directly. So let me introduce very quickly. Wait, you know what, Richard? Let's wait 2 more minutes because I see that people are joining. I keep joining, so yeah, perfect. Thank you. Well, it's great that we wait. A lot of people joined afterwards. So, all right, let me introduce real quick Richard's brain. So we'll have Richard here for 25 minutes. So let's go. Prepare your questions in the chat or unmute yourselves. But if you want to do it in the chat, that's even faster. So let me introduce here Richard. So Richard is an OG. He's a very old builder in the Starknet ecosystem. He's part of the Quantum Tree Labs, mainly Scaffold Stark. Maybe you know it already, but Scaffold is likely the primary tool for building on top of Starknet to set up your project. So Scaffold is extremely useful. They have an indexer. They are amazing with the Starknet ecosystem. So Richard has a lot of vision on what to build, how to build it. Yeah, Scaffold exists already, Giovanni. So maybe Richard, if you can share the link to the Scaffold so that people can use it. Perfect. So Richard will share in a couple minutes. So yes, Scaffold is the toolkit to bootstrap and kickstart your projects in Starknet. And yes, so I think for Richard, you can ask any kind of questions. He's particularly biased towards the technical. So, but feel free to ask about Bitcoin, privacy, etc. And Richard, if you prefer not to answer one question, that's perfect. We can delegate it to another AMA with another person. It's perfect, no worries. So perfect. Okay, so you got the link here by Richard, scaffoldstark.com. You can use that to Stark and scaffold your project in Starknet. All right, let's go on with the questions. What do you think, guys? If you don't have any question, I will. I mean, if you don't put it in the chat or ask it directly, I will ask one of the Dora Hacks questions that we have. So I'll wait 10 seconds. Otherwise, I will ask mine.
I think I can give a quick, just a quick
Oh yeah, yeah,
TLDR of
Richard.
what Scaffold is. Yeah,
Perfect,
then we could start. We could move over the questions.
perfect, Richard.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, what for those of you who are not aware or maybe not don't know what Scaffold is. So basically, Scaffold is kind of like a boilerplate, a starter pack for you to get starting to build on Starknet easily from end to end, from smart contracts to the front end side. So all you have to do is just run some simple commands that you have the entire development stack right on your local machine, and you can develop whatever you want with it, right? So our mission is just to get you guys get started faster, so you can ship a working prototype faster, which is perfect for this kind of hackathon projects, right? Because you need to ship something really fast, like something that's high quality and fast. So that's basically what we are doing currently in Scaffold. So that's like a TLDR of what we do in Scaffold Stark. Yeah, and I think I see a questions already over there. So what do you see as the more impactful topics to work on? Yeah, so I think what you want to do currently, typically from my own experience on doing hackathons, I prefer to do things that I like. I typically not to change narratives. So for example, I'm myself I'm passionate in doing stuff like indexing and providing infrastructure. So typically my submissions will typically move around that vertical in hackathons. So that's like my personal experience. So if you manage to identify a problem in your maybe your community or in the overall ecosystem in general, then you can identify those, talk to people. I think if you have a group chat or anything like that, talk to people around you and validate the problem. If that really exists, then you work from there, right? So we always start with the problem. I feel like start from the problem, then your solution, you find a solution, and that's what you submit. So if you start from the problem, you definitely will have more impact when you're working on stuff. So that's like my opinion. Yeah.
And to add here, there's another question there by Arco. Richard, if you can read it, but in the meantime, I will provide more context to Ryan. So Ryan, I think something more, as Richard was saying, like maybe a problem here is, for example, something that is very interesting is to build private transactions with Bitcoin, for example. Or how can you shield your Bitcoin? How can provide yield that is private, for example? I think these are open questions everywhere, like everywhere. But you can build them in Starknet now. So I think there's a problem in there. What other problem I see? So basically, if you go to landing page of the hackathon, hackathon.starknet.org, you will see a lot of different ideas. So those ideas are in there because they answer a problem that we have not only in Starknet but overall in crypto, right? So take a look at that, at those ideas. Maybe you can get a good idea from there and build something from there. But yeah, from what Richard mentioned, there's some problems. If you can build one of the answers to that, you can see it there. All right, so let's go with Arco. Richard, what do you think?
Yeah, I feel like Arco's question is more suitable for you to answer, Omar, I think,
Oh,
because it's
I didn't read it. I will actually pull swaps, layers. The infra side is just layers have no incentive. All right, question. Should project build their own relayer networks? I mean, Arco, if you don't need to do it. If you do it, it's an extra point. It's like more value for the hackathon. I know it's complex, but if you do it, could be. I think it's something that we need in privacy, right? The relayers. So if you do something like that, it's an extra point. Or if someone here wants to build a relayer stuff like that, that is also useful, by the way. So yes, Arco. I don't know if that answers your question. Feel free to ask more in the chat. There's a question by George. Perfect. Scaffold.
yeah. So
Mhm.
yeah, I see that Scaffold can the GUI be updated instead of relying on the current one. Oh, yes, definitely. You could update it. You could customize it however you want. For example, we use Daisy UI out of the box in Scaffold. But if you don't like to use Daisy UI, for example, you like some other framework or you like some other CSS library, then you can just use it. Like you just replace it with that and build your UI. So it's really not opinionated. We don't really tell you what to do. All we do is just we get you the starting point. So you can customize it however you want according to what you need. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you, George. Thank you, Richard. There's another question. I think Richard is reading it right now. Uh, Perfect. If you have any other questions, ask in the chat, and here Richard will answer them. I have a couple of questions. I can also ask them, but we're waiting here. So whenever you're ready, Richard, to answer Joaquin, go ahead.
Yeah, so the question is, do you always by Joaquin, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Apologies if I butchered it. Do you always recommend Scaffold on the Docker instance as not to have version problems? What is your best point of view as a developer to avoid dependency problems and problems? Right, this question hits close to home because this is what we do very often in Scaffold. We try to catch up with Starknet dependency because it's really fast. Like we got the starter ecosystem do update their tools very fast, and we have to catch up with the versions. You have to catch up the version as to not fall behind and make sure everybody can have access to the latest toolings, right? Yeah. So for my advice for this typically is that uh, for Docker instance, I believe that I I think for Scaffold Start for Starknet do have something called Starkup. This will I believe this will help you manage version dependencies, right? So that's what it does. If you're just using raw like a Starknet stack, but if you are using Scaffold Stark, we do our best to keep our dependencies, like at least on the Starknet side, up to date, so that you guys can have good access to the latest stack. So yeah, so usually the version that comes with Scaffold Stark is the latest version of everything, unless there's like some dependency conflicts, because we did encounter that some of that in the past. And what's your best point of view as a developer to avoid dependency problems and problems? I mean, it depends on how critical does these dependencies affect your particular product, right? Yeah, for example, sometimes protocols just release a very minor version of changes, typically bug fixes or something like that. If the bug is critical, then definitely you have to just update it really fast. First thing you do is just update your SDK so that the bug is not there, especially very dangerous ones, like stuff that can really drain your wallet. But sometimes these bugs are like a bit more minor, maybe these updates are a bit more minor, just refactor or something like that. Then you can kind of like maybe just wait for the next version, do it in batches. So my advice is that you just strategize around this. Just check on updates from time to time and update, and make sure also you stay tuned to the maybe NPM and also like the X and everything, so that when there's a critical vulnerability coming on, you can update it the first thing. The first thing you do is just update it so that the dangerous issue is not there anymore. Yeah, so it's a bit more it's very case by case, because some projects really depends on this dependency very sensitively. Some of them are not. So yeah, it's really based case by case. Just re-strategize around it. But one hard rule is that if you have something dangerous dependency going on, vulnerability going on, update it right away. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Richard. I think that is very valuable information I haven't heard before. So that's
Yeah.
first advice from a person that knows a lot, like Richard. He's working on that. All right. There's a question by George. Does Scaffold work on Windows without using Linux VM?
I'm for the scaffold front end. It does. Does it? No, yeah. Wait, no, I think no. On Windows, no. Since like we don't use a Windows machine on the team, so that's why I have a bit of a of kind of like a kind of confused about it. But you have to use a Linux VM, because the Starknet local network runs on the Linux VM. Node.js runs on the Linux VM. Everything basically runs on Linux VM. So I really recommend you just set up one. I think it's not very hard to do, and also it will save you a lot of headaches down the line. Yeah.
There's a follow-up question from that. Juan is mentioning that he's using WSL2. Uh, what do you think, Richard? Is that okay? Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. That's basically the Windows subsystems for Linux, which is the Linux VM that George was talking about. Yeah.
All right, right, perfect, perfect,
Yeah.
perfect. I hate Windows, man. So I don't even know. So, all right, and we got a question by Aeon. We're talking about BTC, but started is recently adopting USDC. Can we work on projects that involve using USDC to dollar on various chains as a reference to foster adoption with the most known currency? I think that is something that I can answer. So, uh, yes, of course, of course. For example, moving USDC around chains. But I mean, Starling needs to be the main chain here. But yes, of course, that's something that is worth building. But I think you can find it already in several. You will have a lot of competitors in that arena. So maybe I don't know, maybe integrating some privacy in there. I don't know exactly how you would want to do it, but or privacy or BTC somewhere could be interesting. So I mean, using the powers that Starknet provides you right now, like using very securely BTC wrappers, or providing you with privacy tech, I think that can take your project to another level, Aeon. Something that is cool and something that is powerful also, and unique for that you can only do in Starnet. In other networks, it will be difficult to do. All right. Hello, Nayam, and perfect. So, any other questions here that you may have for Richard? So, just as a context for those that arrive a little bit later, Richard here is an expert in Starnet development. He's building a Scaffold Stark, which is the tooling which you can use to set up your Starnet project. So, our recommendation is always to use the scaffold, start from there, build from there. So Richard is maybe one of the most, likely the best person to ask about precisely that dependencies, advice when building with the Starknet. He's extremely good at this. Uh, okay, Johnny is asking a question here. What is the best scaffold of Scaffold Stark?
Yeah, so basically, scaffolds are, I think in Starknet, there's only one scaffold. There's only our team. But if you're talking about the templates to use, that depends on what you want to build, right? Because we do have templates that allow you to start with an indexer on, or we have templates that help you start with tokens on, or templates that help you start from NFTs on, right? So for example, if we have a token template, so that means the Scaffold Stark project will come with a pre-integrated token contract, so you can just change the name and metadata there, then you have a token running on your system. So that's like it depends on the use case really. There's no best ones. It just depends on what you want to build, and that's where you start from to save you a lot of time, basically.
Sergio is asking, uh, what do you think about Dojo? Is it still relevant when you choose one over the other?
I think Dojo is a very
Yeah.
different
You can
thing.
use Scaffold with Dojo. So they're not, yeah.
For example, you can use thank you, Johnny. For example, you can use the invisible wallet by Dojo. So Sergio, Dojo is mostly set up for gaming. So as Johnny mentioned and Richard, you can use both at the same time. Dojo is very relevant and very good. Also, you can use their invisible wallets. So for example, if you're doing for something for users that don't need to know that you're using blockchain, and you just want them to know that, I don't know, maybe it's a game, maybe it's a consumer product, so they just need to use they just want to do something, and that they don't necessarily need to know the backend where everything is running on, for example, blockchain. So in that case, for example, using Dojo, the smart wallet that they have, sorry, the invisible wallet that they have is very useful. So yes, you can use both. You can use both perfectly. And also, Dojo is recommended. The only part, we are not using games a lot this time in the hackathon. However, if you want to build a game, you can do it, and there's a track that is called the open track. So you can go there and submit your project there if it's a game, or if it's a game with privacy or Bitcoin, you can put it also in the privacy and Bitcoin tracks. Uh, all right, Richard just share in the chat the link to the Telegram group where you can join the Scaffold developers. So I mean, you can join there, or you can join. I think everyone here is already in the chat for the Hackathon Telegram. You can ask questions there also. But if you want to ask something particularly set up for the Scaffold team, for Richard here, you can go to that chat. Okay, Joaquin is asking other question here. Richard, what metrics or features in Scaffold Stark project typically impress technical evaluators most? I'm interested in understanding what separates a prototype from an investor-ready project.
I feel like a prototype is an investor-ready project because typically when you show them, and in some cases you are not launched yet, you're not live yet. So what you show them is the prototype, which is quote unquote the investor-ready project. I mean, if you're talking about like a consumer-ready project, which is like going to mainnet and everything, then that's a really different ball game. We do have features for that, so you can deploy to mainnet in a few commands, to deploy to mainnet in a few commands as well. Right. So you're asking what metrics or features in a Scaffold Star project that typically impress technical evaluators the most. Yeah. So if you could craft something that is not in a Scaffold Star and it's like something novel, something that would be beneficial to everybody, I think it will be impressive because Scaffold Star provides the basics, right? We provide the basics where you get started. We don't really do anything too advanced, but what we do is just save you time on work on setting up your project and writing logic that is boilerplate that is like written over and over again. So if you could do something that's unique, has a unique value proposition to everybody, I think that pretty much impress everybody. I feel, from my opinion, yeah.
Perfect. If I might add something to Richard's answer, I would say also that if you start, for example, with the Scaffold Stark, and then you, I don't know, like try to make it as production grade as possible in the sense of try to test everything, try to make sure that everything is working as set up as intended. So this is kind of like a vanity metric, but the number of tests of your code is relevant. Also show us, for example, that it's working in the flow, the testnet, the mainnet flow. Everything is work. If it's in mainnet, if it's in testnet, everything flows, everything works, transaction works. I think that is very interesting. So the number of good setup tests. For example, you can use fuzzy test. Also you can use that with SN Forge in Starknet. So those are very useful. So yes, for me, for example, testing is very, very important. All right. Okay, that's my answer. Any other question? I don't see any new question here. Come on, guys, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask by unmuting yourself or just write it here. If not, I will go on and ask one of the Dora Hacks questions. So I'll wait for you 10 seconds, and then if not, I will go with the next.
I have a quick question. For this hackathon, when it comes to offering, say, a percentage yield to some prospective user, right? Whether or not they know they're on chain. Using the tools on Starknet, obviously there's Nostora, Ikubu, Avenue, there's everything, right? So what would be the best, like at least the bare minimum tools to use to get a positive feed for some end user regardless, like something basically bulletproof, or that you could say, hey, this is something that you can do, and bam, there it is.
Sorry, I don't understand very well your question, Johnny. You mean like what is?
Take the bus or
I don't understand your question very well, Johnny. Can you rephrase it maybe in one sentence?
Utilizing the smart contracts on Starknet to provide a positive yield for a prospective anonymous customer, what would be the best function calls to achieve that?
I mean, I think it's a very broad question. Depends on what you're building, right? Depends on what you're building. So from what you mentioned before in the previous AMA, which is AXM, it was XMR, right? Yeah, which.
Oh yeah. So basically, I'm creating an XRP bridge to Starknet. So that's what I'm working on for the hackathon at least. And so I already have this thing where I'm gonna vault it for them, but I also want them to be able to have a couple of things that they could do that also provide friction to them basically getting rid of it. So, but then also one of the other tracks is Bitcoin. But then obviously I look and I'm like, okay, well, what is something that we could provide so that way I could then make some actual token of my own that is based off of the derivative of whatever that project itself is earning, to give people a perspective to speculate on that. So I guess that's my end goal, but so that's why I have the question, which I know it's kind of vague, but I figured maybe someone had a little bit of a insight that maybe I didn't have.
Well, I think, Johnny, to be honest, I think I don't have the answer right now. I think that is a perfect answer for Jonathan Chang. He's the growth lead in the foundation. He has a very strategic vision of what is worth building, what is. I think he can answer your question perfectly for that. Yeah.
Thank you. Could you I appreciate that. If you could I guess link me him in Telegram or something. I know that the question I'm asking is probably pretty vague, but I can see I've been working on it for like a couple days. I'm pretty deep in it, so I probably sound vague and abstract. Sorry about that.
I mean, my recommendation is for you to come to the AMA or ask the question in the Telegram group, and I can redirect it to Jonathan. I think I would prefer for you to ask it directly, because then you can ping pong with him, and yeah, he said he's very busy, so it will be perfect to use that time for that.
Awesome. When's the next? When is this one or that one?
I will tell you in the chat in a minute. I will tell you now.
Perfect. Gracias.
No worries. Thank you, Johnny. So there's another question by Van Bamps. Are applications already open for both rights? Yes, you can submit your. If you have a project already done, submit it already. You have until the end of the month, but if you want to submit them, go ahead. Richard, sorry, Richard, you were going to say something, or someone unmute themselves, right? Sorry, go ahead. Whoever was talking.
Sorry, yeah. I was speaking. Sorry, that was me. I was because I had registered, but the applications were not open, I think, until today. So I spoke with Omar because we're doing a privacy order book.
Nice.
And I spoke with Omar and they mentioned that we can apply to both tracks. I just wanted to, because it's if it's trading BTC and it's trading just the traditional order book, on like privacy with El Gamal encryption and things like that. So we so just wanted to know like the procedure of like applying is just GitHub and just sending over the project. But yeah.
Exactly. I mean, if you start the submission, you will see all the requirements. But yes, GitHub, small demo, basically show us that it works, show us that it's something interesting in Starknet. The idea by itself sounds very interesting. So yes, go ahead and submit it. If you have any questions, please ask in the Telegram group.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome. And okay. All right. So I think those are all the questions. Richard, thank you very much. Do you have any last couple sentences you want to give to the hackers or to say goodbye, maybe?
Yeah, I think not really goodbye per se. You can still find me on the hackathon group I just entered, and also our own Telegram group which has like all the other maintainer guys as well. So definitely, if you guys have any questions, any doubts, maybe some issues that you encounter with Scaffold Stark, feel free to hit us up. If you have any feature requests, maybe you can also hit us up. So yeah, so looking forward to working with you guys. And also my tip is just ask a lot of questions, talk to people a lot, and you definitely get there. I think that's one advice I could give to hackers in general. Yeah, so talk with Omar, talk with whoever else is in the group, all the Starknet OGs as well. Then they definitely will get something good going on right there. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you, Richard. And just thank you very much. So just answering questions from Giovanni and announcing the next AMAs. Tomorrow we will have Teddy. Teddy is a crazy guy in privacy. Basically, it's like he works with Adrian. You had before. He's crazy in privacy, prediction markets, also in Bitcoin. So he has a huge vision of what can be built also. And then on Wednesday we will have Jonathan Chang, which is JY. He's the lead of growth in the foundation. So his time is very valuable as well. So come here, ask questions. Giovanni, that will be interesting for you. For anyone that is still wondering what is worth building, come. Jonathan will give you a lot of direction. Jonathan has a huge vision on this. And then we'll have Benjamin. Oh, Benjamin is crazy in Bitcoin. He's the strategist #1 that we have for Bitcoin. So come and see him. It's also on Wednesday, just after JY. So on Wednesday, we will have JY, lead from growth, and lead in Bitcoin. We will have Benjamin Isturiski. So we got the best people for you here. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Joaquin had a last question. We can ask. Okay, perfect.
I can answer.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
No worries.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Be well.